The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. And boy, are we ready to go. First, the big announcement for everyone to know. The People's Debate, September 16th at the Cuss Middle School, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Make sure you're there. On Friday, the debate question email address will go online. You'll be able to send your questions to debate@scstonline.com. Do not send your questions before Friday, as the debate question email box will not open until Friday. The questions will be selected at random after approval by the editorial board. So, all questions must be non-personal. You can word your questions on issues related to the City of Fall River, the tax rate, and those questions will be reviewed by our editorial board, and then we will present them in a fashion where they're drawn by lottery, and they'll be given to our panelists to ask our candidates. This will be a 2-hour debate. It is currently going to be broadcast live on Fall River Government Television and here on FRC Media, Channel 95. I want to thank FRC Media and Fall River Government Television for carrying this program live and assisting us in bringing you the People's Debate. The People's Debate is our second one, and hopefully one of many more. And I look forward to being there. So, Chip, what do you think about the debate? Do you think it's that time again?
Yeah, it's that time. But I am going to, before I get into my little tirade that's going to be coming.
Yep.
I want to talk about something that's of paramount importance here. I want to recognize the loss that this area suffered when First Sergeant or Master Sergeant E8 Peter Andrew McKenna Jr. was killed in Afghanistan near Kabul from small arms fire from the enemy. He was from Bristol, Rhode Island. It brings to light again that every day, as I said on a previous program, when I was talking about news media covering Deflategate and Caitlin's dress picking, and that every day we have men and women in uniform dying for this nation. And we owe them a debt that is impossible to pay. They are the reason that we have a nation, that we have freedom. Sergeant McKenna was a Green Beret who served in Iraq, 17-year veteran. He was in the 7th Special Forces, so he was from our area, which makes it strike even closer to home. And it strikes even closer to home for me because he was a Green Beret and he was in the 7th Special Forces. And when I was at Fort Bragg in the 6th Special Forces, they were right across the street. And it's just like when the Marines were killed in the recruiting station, Marines from every war, from every generation, feel it a little bit more because they're like immediate family. And Sergeant McKenna's loss is even, he's from our area, and also he was a Green Beret. So I will tell his family he will never be forgotten. I hope people always remember the sacrifice that he and all our military personnel make when they're away, when they choose to leave their families, leave their homes, and go to far-off lands, and for us, and put on a uniform. They're far more important than the high-priced athletes and the buffoons that are on reality TV. So I will say to his family, he'll never be forgotten, and I will say to him what all Special Forces people, as the Marines have Semper Fi, we have the Oppresso Liber. So, Sergeant McKenna, rest in peace, and thank you.
You know, Chip, it's always a great loss to the people of the United States, and in this instance, to our area, when one of our soldiers is lost in battle. And whether or not they're in battle or lost for foolishness, it is a sad day. I am directly connected to many members of the military, and I always feel the loss, and I can feel your loss as well.
Well, you know, as I always said, anybody who puts on a uniform is making a sacrifice that you don't. You know, years ago we had a draft, and in times of trouble they brought everybody in, but now it's a choice, and they chose to put that uniform on, and you know, there's no commendation that we can give them for making that choice to defend our nation. And every loss from the Revolutionary War to today. And that's why I always say, never forget that every single day that we take a breath, and every day you get out of bed, there are men and women in uniform in every branch of the military that are out there putting their lives on the line and being away from their families for us. And as I said, it can't be, you know, the importance of that cannot be measured. And now I get into my issue.
Knock yourself out, Chip.
Yeah, well, you know, the other day you started talking about a Facebook issue you had, and I said, well, you know, Facebook is not really Spindle City. Right. But now Facebook has reared its ugly head and begun to make commentary on Spindle City. We had a candidate for mayor that basically said that when I talked about looking at government and forgetting about the BS, that I was basically full of BS, and that because I endorsed a candidate that's a politician. Well, number one, we never mentioned any candidates. We've never endorsed a candidate on this show. Secondly, and I will call him because he named me, it's Richard Renzi, a man who we only see at election time. In between elections, he disappears. And now he comes in. He came into this city, and 3 months after he came in, he ran for office, which could be because he has a commitment to the community. But I don't think that's the case. The fact is, we've had people who were in the recall who have remained committed to the political process and to other processes. From their involvement, they've continued to go before the council and talk. They've continued to. There's even Angels Anonymous, a group that helps, you know, with cleanups and many altruistic things in the community. However, he said that he was sharing information as though we said this on the show. Said that I said he's not electable. I never said that on the show, but since you wanted to say it, I did say that in a private conversation because it's my opinion. And why he's not electable is more important. Why he's not electable, I feel, is because of his particular, what he's bringing to the table. I have continually, and I challenge Mr. Renzi to go back and look at every episode of Spindle City Straight Talk and find an episode where I didn't tell the people, don't listen to me, don't listen to CJ, do your homework, examine what we say. Everything we say on this program is under scrutiny. As a matter of fact, I made a faux pas a while back when I referred to the sales tax rather than the income tax, and immediately one of our viewers corrected me, and on the next show we say it. The only thing that we portray as fact here is data that we read. We tell you where we got it from or news sources. The rest of the stuff is our political. It's our political debate. We're talking about politics as we see it. And I have time and time again told everybody to go out and educate themselves. Look into every single candidate. Look at their platforms. See what they're bringing to the table. Forget about what we say. You know, we're just another source of information. We have continually said, examine all the facts. Choose your own candidate. As a matter of fact, I went one step further. During the recall, I refused to endorse a candidate because I said the primary objective of the recall was get getting rid of a mayor who was not working in the best interests of the city of Fall River. And now we see what empty promises can make. We have a mayor now who promised to have a government that was transparent, which it isn't, that he was going to change the city, and we're hearing about a reorganization somewhere down the line after he's given everybody jobs. Look at the record. Actions speak louder than words. Do your homework on every single candidate. Listen to what they say. Make a measured decision. That's what we've said. And then he said, and he's trying to use Spindle City and what we say for his own political campaign, which I think is deplorable. His statement was, I am the only choice, and what he offers is the truth. I offered is the truth. What did I offer as the truth? You said I endorsed a candidate. I will endorse a candidate in this election. And I will endorse that candidate because I feel he's the best person to lead this city forward, as I will back people for city council. And I will do it because of not what they say, but because I've looked at their platform, I've talked to them, and I feel that what they're saying they're going to do will move this city forward. As I do with the health care, as I do with the retirement board, as I have done for decades, Mr. Renzi. I have credibility in this community because when I say something, I mean it. I haven't endorsed anybody publicly, but I will in this election. I ran a union for 24 years. Everything I brought to the union had to be voted on. And if the body voted to do something different than what I wanted to do, I was obligated to do that as the president. And as a voter, I am obligated to live under the government that's elected. You talk about America, you talk about the Constitution now. You mentioned do you know what the Constitution says? You mentioned of the people, by the people, and for the people. Well, guess what? It's of the people, by the people, and for the people when the people actually vote. Is it perfect? No. That's one of the reasons CJ and I are here. We're trying to get more people to the polls. And the reality is if you can convince more people than I can convince that you're the better candidate, you could be mayor. I don't think that can happen, but that's the reality of it. What I want is not my candidate to get in. I want my candidate to get in because I feel that they will be the best candidates. But what I want is 100% of the registered voters in the city of Fall River to show up at the polls. And I want 100% of the people to make that decision. And then truly, this is a democracy. And then truly, the people will be running government. And will they make the right choices? Who knows? But I can guarantee you one thing, Mr. Renzi. Regardless of who I endorse, if when they get into office, they don't do what they promised, I will be crucifying them on this show and in front of the council. Because I'm not a political hack. I'm not going to do what those 3 city councilors did and flip because my candidate got in, and now everything he does is right. I'm going to call him as I see him, as I always have. And what you said was not only bullshit, but it showed you have no understanding of the political process and what the Constitution truly guarantees. And as far as I'm concerned, this is over because you are, to me, irrelevant.
Well, and you know, Chip, when I saw that post, you had called me, and I could understand why you were extremely irate. And I immediately had posted on that posting of Mr. Renzi's that South Coast Media and Spindle City Straight Talk have not, will not, nor will we ever endorse a candidate as an organization. We've always held the position that the voters endorse the candidate by their vote. We do not in any way, shape, or form feel that by being independent reporters and to bring information to the people that we should be doing like the Herald News has done and WSAR and other media outlets saying this is the guy you want to elect, because that's propaganda. We believe that you have to read what these candidates stand for, do some research, and find the information. and then make your decision. If we make a decision based upon the fact that John Smith said, well, Chip Kamara said you're a wonderful guy, then you know what? Chip might be wrong. He's going by what he believes at that time. It wouldn't be the first time that I or Chip or you, the people, have been screwed by a politician. Just look at what we're going through for 20 years.
And, look at our mayor now. You know, and that's the key, CJ.
Yeah.
You know, what we have is an individual right. We have an individual right to make a choice outside this show.
Right.
We have made it very clear that on this show, we are not going to use this show as a vehicle to endorse anybody's candidacy. But as individuals, we have a right as Americans to say that, listen, this is my candidate. And if I talk to friends, I will tell them who my candidate is.
Right.
I will explain to them why, and it will not be because of labels, as Mr. Renzi likes to put labels. Oh, he's backing a politician. Well, number one, I haven't publicly endorsed anybody yet, but I hate to tell you this, you're a politician because you're running for office.
That's right.
And you know, the fact is that there's a difference between a politician and a statesman. A politician is used as a label. And labels are bad. I've said this on other shows. You know, it's not a bad thing to be a politician if you're a statesman. If you're working for the public, being a politician is a high calling if you are truly a representative of the people. If you're doing what you were elected to do in this country, it should be the highest calling, and which you don't only put the best candidates in there. And the fact is, but that's the labels. It's like, oh, he's a conservative, he's a liberal, he's a moderate, he's a Nazi. Well, you know something? People better realize that it's up to us to determine our government by looking beyond words, looking at platforms, looking at actions, looking at plans. And as CJ said, look, nobody's perfect. We don't have crystal balls. We can only take a man on their word. If a man says, I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and then he gets in office and does E, F, and G, well, guess what? It's E, F, and G him. You know, so the fact is that that's what all we can do is attempt to install the best government we can do. And I think that, and I mentioned this on a show before, I think the greatest indicator of the United States was many years ago when the American Civil Liberties Union had a battery of Jewish attorneys defending the American Nazi Party's right to demonstrate. Now, as abhorrent as their views are, and as anti-Semitic, although that on this show that's kind of like we've been accused of that too. But the fact is they are anti-Semitic. Yet the American Civil Liberties understood that they can't act on some of these things they want. But the fact is in America, regardless of how reprehensible what you say is, you have a right to say it. You can't. These labels of what politicians. That's propaganda, too. Every Muslim is not a terrorist. Every Christian is not a wonderful soul. We have Christian serial killers and Muslim serial killers. The fact is, judge the individuals. Judge them not on what we say. It's just part. Take what we say, look at what they say, look at what other people say. And what I was saying on the last show is don't believe, things like the Herald News saying that Fall River is not that bad, the tax rate isn't that bad. Look around you. Be realistic. Is Fall River a better place than it was 10 years ago? Look at your tax bill. Look at your paycheck. Look at what's going on. Be a pragmatist. Be a realist. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. And everybody that's running is a politician. I will support who I think is the best candidate. You may label him as a politician, and I may label you as someone who doesn't have a chance. So I'm telling you, well, prove me wrong. Get elected. And when you're the mayor, I will say, well, I guess I was wrong and you were right. But I'll tell you what, I don't think so.
You bring up a very valid point, though, Chip. And I think that point is that we have a problem in Fall River that is greater than just taxes and fees and you know, a declining and decaying economy. The problem that we have is we have a voter base that are lemmings. They just follow to the end of the cliff and fall off. They, you know, Linda Pereira is wonderful. She always does everything. She's a wonderful woman. She's great. Linda is a wonderful person. I've known Linda for many years. She's a sucky city councilor. Okay? I mean, come on. In the 20 years you've been on the seat, in that seat, Linda, what good, what sustainable good have you done for Fall River? Ray Mitchell, what sustainable good have you done for Fall River? You approve things which are illegal on their face, and you have adopted the mantra of your messiah. It's all perfectly legal until challenged in court. Well, you know what? The people should not have to file a lawsuit to get their rights. And the Attorney General coming back and saying to people who file complaints, you should get together and file a lawsuit and then handle it. We don't do that. Then what's your job? What's your job? I mean, nobody seems to have a job.
Well, they do. Their job is being politicians. And see, and that's the other factor I think that's very important with this issue. The fact is, he's writing about what my message is. My message is really not even relevant. What's relevant is he's treating me like he's campaigning against me, and they attack the people who have a different opinion. And that's one of the problems we have in Fall River. It was like the recall. See, when we had the recall, they attacked everybody that was involved in the recall personally.
Right.
They didn't attack the issue. They never attacked the fact that what we said that Will Flanagan was doing wrong, which he was doing wrong.
Correct. No question
but nobody cares about that. And that's the whole point of this show, to try to make the voters understand it. These are diversionary tactics and propaganda. Mr. Renzi, you're running against 4 other candidates. Worry about how your platform and how your ideas are better than theirs. Don't worry about what I say. And don't twist what I say, because on this show, I will not endorse anybody, but outside, I will endorse whomever I want. It's my right as an American. And I will tell you what, you know, you can kiss me where the sun doesn't shine if you think that I'm not going to pick a side, because Fall River's future, I believe, is on the line in this election, and I'm going to exercise my right as a voter, as a citizen of the United States, to be involved and to be engaged. And what I want is other people to do the same. So rather than worry about a non-candidate, worry about your opponents. Try to show people why you're better than them. Because you know something? If my neighbor tells me that the auto mechanic is a great mechanic and I know he's absolute crap, I'm not going to bring my car to him no matter what. I'm telling you that I'll make my decision based on my opinion, but I'm not asking anybody else to have that opinion. I'm going to tell them who I support and why I support them. And then I will encourage them to make the comparisons, to do the research, to do what has to be done. And that's what's wrong with the political system. You know, if you don't like what somebody says, rather than argue the merits of what he says and prove them wrong, you start slinging mud at the people. And CJ's been in numerous Facebook altercations, because I don't go on Facebook, because to me that's the land of the cowards.
That's right.
Because you can sit at a typewriter at a keyboard and type any kind of crap you want, and you can write a check with your mouth that your ass can't cash. And I'm not used to people like that. So you write a check, you better be ready to cash it. But that's the problem. They attack the people. You want to, if I say 2 and 2 is 6, well, you prove me wrong. If we come on the show and we give you some wrong information, prove us wrong. CJ doesn't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. And that's the reason CJ has said we will not endorse any candidates as a group. CJ and I have completely different opinions on some issues. On the stuff we talk about here, people think, well, you know, you joined it hip. No, because what we talk about here is what's wrong with the city, and we agree on what's wrong with the city. Right. We may not agree on other political issues. In and above it, and that's when these conversations that are private conversations, for some reason, get leaked to a candidate like that who then distorts them and then comes out after me. Don't come out after me. I'm not going to vote for you. I wouldn't vote for you if you were the only candidate in the field, because I saw you the first time you came out. I evaluated you and your ability to do the job, and I don't think you could be the dog catcher.
Well, you know, it's very interesting, Chip, because I learned over the years, because we've worked together on numerous political campaigns and on numerous issues. Your quote is so very true, as Sun Tzu always says, know your enemy, and you shall win 1,000 battles, you know? Yeah. And I know better than to pick a fight with Chip Kamara because my head's gonna roll.
Well, you know, the fact is that, look, you know, I've gone before that council for 30 years on numerous issues, mostly fire issues, and now on other issues. And as I said before, I defy anyone to show me one bit of data that I purported as being fact that was wrong. And they can't. Yeah. They can't. Because everything I say, I will say it's from the U.S. Census Bureau, it's from citydata.com, it's from wherever it is, and I can prove it. And as a matter of fact, it took the council like 2 years to catch up with what we've been presenting at the council for 2 years. When Steve Long read the report that the city councilors have, that obviously the Herald News has ignored, about the poverty and what the problems we have in the city of Fall River. But you know something? Then I have somebody like this accusing me of something which is, like, on this show, we said absolutely nothing about it. Look at the show. You know, I don't know where you got this from, but, you know, you created it, and you attacked me. Look, it's my opinion. I've already told you. I wouldn't vote for you for any office. So you're not going to get my vote. You can dislike me. Nothing personal about you. I don't know anything about you.
You're already off a lot of Christmas card lists.
That's right.
So
I'm off a lot of Christmas card lists, and I don't care, because
exactly.
what a lot of people don't realize, and CJ says it, and I say it, and people don't believe it, but it isn't personal. Because guess what? When I leave this show, I go get my dog, I take her for a walk. I have my own life. I do what I do. I have my things to do. I go out, I leave the city, and I go train fighters, and I have a good time. I have my own circle of friends, and I have another life. You know, but when I'm engaged in this, I give it 100%. And I'm involved in politics because this city is where I live, and I want to see a better city. But look, don't campaign against me. Campaign against your opponents. Let's see who has the best message. Let's see who has the best vision, and let's see who is the best candidate. And if we all do that, and we get 100% of the people in this city to the polls, we will truly have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if I don't like their selection, guess what? I'm going to live with it, because it's the democratic process.
And then we'll attack them when they're not doing what they need to do.
That's right. And if they elect a guy that I endorse and he doesn't do the job, you won't have to say I told you so, because I'll be the first one to say, wow, did I pick a lemon?
Exactly. I mean, we're not afraid to admit when we're wrong, and we're not afraid to present the facts. And just because the facts aren't what you like doesn't mean they're negative. Yeah. It means they're a fact. Yeah. And we see more often than not how these people make everything personal. And with that little reminder, this show's over, and we'll see you on Friday. Remember, investigate your candidates and vote for the better of Fall River.
And remember, stay angry.
Stay very angry, because this is ridiculous already.